Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Molly Rose, and while I am not a physical therapist, I know a lot about our program, and I think I can help you with what it's about and how to apply and the secret sauce of getting accepted to UIC. UIC is one of the only DPT programs that I'm aware of that actually describes our admission decision process. So I'm going to go through that with you today. But the first thing I'd like to do is get a feel for who is on the call, where you are in the process if you're planning to apply this coming cycle that starts July 1st. And, or if you're a career changer or whatever. So it'd be lovely to hear where you are in the process and how you came to decide about PT. Who'd like to start?
I'll go ahead and start. So my name's Kaylee Jowish. I currently live like 3 hours west of Chicago in the Quad City area. And I actually graduated with my undergraduate degree in athletic training from NIU. I graduated last May and then kind of took it upon myself to use like the pandemic and all that to finish up some of those prerequisite courses that I didn't complete and work and get those finished up so I can apply for this upcoming cycle in a few weeks.
Thanks, Kaylee.
Hi, my name is Kennedy. I actually, same as Kaylee, I just finished up my undergrad. Last December, I finished at University of Missouri or Mizzou a semester early. I did apply to their PT program. I did not get accepted. I just wanted to, get a feel for it. I did spend a lot of time. I was a McNair scholar, so I did a project within their PT school. So I did apply there, and I'm currently, just like Kaylee, in the process of getting started for this next cycle. I did use my semester off that I was supposed to be in undergrad and just the pandemic in general to apply, make a list of schools in general that I want to apply to, take some prereqs, and I'm currently actually taking one now. I just got out of class before I got on this.
Perfect. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I'm Kelly Tishner. I currently go to U of L right now, which is in Louisville, Kentucky. I am looking to apply this next cycle. I'm just feeling everything out, getting everything done. I'm currently a tech right now at one of our big clinics here. But yeah, just feeling everything out. I'm really excited for everything, but yeah, really enjoying it so far.
Welcome.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike Rowe, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, but I'm calling in from Chicago. I've been in the city for about 15 years, and I've been working as a rehab aide for a little over 3 years right now at Athletico, and I absolutely love it. Like, it solidified my decision to change careers from business to becoming a PT. And yeah, I'm just excited to start the next application cycle pretty soon here. And yeah, just feeling it out right now. But UIC is definitely on my radar too. So yeah.
Oh wow, I worked as a rehab aide at Athletico too.
Oh no way, no way. Which one?
I worked at the Gold Coast location, and now I'm trying to get transferred to the Hyde Park West location because it's closer to my house. But
okay.
It's a great experience.
Yeah, it really is. I work at the Foster and Pulaski. Yeah. All right, that's cool. That's cool.
My name is Brandon.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
Okay. I'm going to be a senior at Indiana University. My camera doesn't work. That's why I don't have a video. I'm going to be applying to PT schools this summer. What got me into PT is I've always been into sports and I'm an active person. And so yeah, that's kind of the field that I want to go into.
What sport, Brandon?
I played tennis and track in high school, but I'm really into football and basketball.
Every sport.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, I'm from India. I'm actually doing my bachelor's in physical therapy here. So I just wanted to get a feel of what UIC is doing with the DPT program and, so I can look into furthering something over there.
Great. Excellent. Welcome. Okay. So, oh, do we have somebody else? Sorry.
Okay. My name is Adeni Bisiriu. I'm from Nigeria. I'm an international student, basically. I've been here for 5 years. I got into the US in 2016, February. So I got my undergrad as an accountant home. So yeah, it's like a huge, like a huge switch, like a huge turn. So presently I'm doing like a couple of prerequisites. I have 3 left. I'm basically doing one of it this summer, so I have 2 left. So I have to take one in the fall and then one spring, because like consecutive courses is a 1 and 2 because of physics 1 and physics 2 courses, so I can't take it together. So like basically, starting early, filling things out. So by then, when the circle starts, when the semester starts next year, I should be done with all my prerequisites and everything. Yeah, but one thing I'm having challenge with is the experience part, because there's no one since the pandemic. There's no one basically hiring like students right now. So basically, it's been hard since the whole getting back outside thing. But no, I've basically been reapplying again. So I don't know. Hopefully, I get some time, supervised time before the semester starts. Hopefully.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome. I'm going to share a screen and present this and throw your questions in as we go along. And afterwards, I have a tour, and throughout, I'm going to sprinkle in all kinds of stories about our students and their experiences with our program. So we went through the introductions. I'll go through an overview of our curriculum and then the application process, which sounds like a lot of you are already experiencing. I feel like you need a master's degree just to apply to the program. It's so tedious and so many steps, and every school has different requirements. So kudos to you. It's a tough thing. And then I'll go through that secret sauce and our tour. So the first thing we want to know for an applicant, because many applicants apply to more than one school, that if we give you an offer, we want to know that you're a good fit to our program, and you want to know if you're going to apply to our program that you're a good fit, that we are a good fit for you. So the first thing we recommend is that you have a financial plan, because I do get asked if you can work full-time while you're getting your DPT, and really no. You can work a little bit, but you almost need to consider the DPT program like a full-time job. Some students work 5, maybe up to 15 hours a week. But some students don't work at all. And I would say almost all of our students are relying on funding outside of the program through loans. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a study approach. So if you are like many of our students who, when they were in undergrad, they would wait till they had an exam, cram for the exam, do really well, and then forget everything. So that doesn't work in the professional program. And what students recommend is that what they've found works for them, and everybody's different, but that they go to class and then every day they study to make sure that they learn that material, because everything builds on top of each other. And if they didn't study every day, they wouldn't be prepared for the class the next day, let alone the exam coming down the pike. So yeah, so it's a whole shift in an approach, and every student finds their way. I see the students are studying together all the time. They share notes. They're very collaborative, and that part is very, very nice. But yeah, it's a trick. And then the third thing is class size. So every school is different. Our school has a class size of 60 students. And for some people, that's too many. So find a school that's smaller class size. There are programs that are over 100 or more. And for some people, that's too many. So do what works for you. Our students feel like 60 is really the sweet spot, because they make very close relationships with some of the students, but then they get to know all of the students. And it's especially lovely when there are international students or students who have had a career before coming into the program, because along with your DPT education, you almost get all of the experiences of these people that are in your cohort. You really spend a lot of time with them and you get to know them really, really well. So it's a great thing to have a diverse class, and it's wonderful to have that in your program. So class size is a bonus, we feel, and our students do too. Okay, so you picked a great job. I'm sure you know, it's one of the happiest jobs. CNN Money gives PTs an A for being work that is both personally satisfying and benefiting society. And US News and World Report calls it the number 11 best job in healthcare. So you picked a good one. And the job outlook is very strong. There aren't many jobs that are growing at this stage, but 18% growth is awesome. And the Chicagoland area is the third highest employer of PTs in the country. And you can see the average salary in over 94,000. So of course you won't make that right out of graduating, but after you're working a bit. The salaries I hear right after graduating range from the 60s to an occasional in the 80s. Our program, we're very proud of our ranking. We're 17th among public universities for their DPT programs, but we don't feel like you are going to get a great job based on the rank of the school that you got your degree from. There'll be other things, and I'll talk about what differentiates UIC in that area, but anyway, we're proud of our rank, but it's not the thing. We're also proud of our first-time pass rate of the licensing exam. So we are passing our students 100% on their first time, which is well above the national average. So we're preparing our students well. And then we interview our graduates 6 months after they've got their degree, and 100% of them are employed as PTs. So that's good. I think that last statistic speaks more for the industry at large rather than our school, but it's all good. So our program is not quite 3 years long. It's 33 months, and it does include summers, except for the last year. And every school does this a little bit differently, but we've found this is what works for us. So the first year is all about the fundamentals and the basic foundational sciences. So you're in class with all of your students, except for labs are smaller. I think our students would say their hardest class is anatomy, but also maybe their favorite class. The instructor is phenomenal. She is a PT who loves anatomy, and she has she teaches her courses from the perspective of what you need as a physical therapist. So the student, she wins awards all the time. Students love her. In fact, all of our professors, they're just experts in their field, and they're so great that it's one of the common things that students say they like about our program is the professors. So that first year is a lot of basic foundational sciences. You do have a small part-time clinical education experiences where you might go over to the hospital for a day or so and observe, and then you come back to the classroom and you report on your experience. You maybe would, in a very safe environment, say, oh, I would document it this way, or I would provide this therapy plan. And yeah, so small part-time experiences during year one. Year two, you have a couple of summer courses that are really intense. So integration and assessment is a hands-on. You're doing all kinds of range of motion types of things. You're doing using all the goniometers and ometer tools. So it's a pretty intense. And then we also have a biophysics course in the summer that I'm told is way better than the physics prerequisites you have as undergrads. It applies to the body. It's interesting. It's stuff you want to know, and it's taught very well. So yeah, so that's the summer starts with those courses, and then you go off on your very first full-time clinical education experience, but it's only 2 weeks long. So you don't even get to see the same patient more than 2 or 3 times. So you don't, it's not a huge clinical experience, but there's a few things that our students have gotten out of that 2-week experience. One is, it's so great to be out of the classroom, working with patients and just reaffirming, oh my gosh, I love this field. And looking at a patient now with more background about the body and all the things you've been learning. The second is, so you mentioned that you had done some work at Athletico, or maybe you've done a lot of observation hours at a certain place. You wouldn't be able to have a clinical experience at any Athletico because you already know how they work and their processes and their documentation. So it's kind of like getting a letter of reference from your mom. So, and we want you to have different experiences to, broaden your scope. So, so that's the other thing that this 2-week experience can do. So one of our students, she worked in an outpatient clinic. She had tons of hours at the outpatient clinic. And her first 2-week experience was with a veterans group, and she didn't know what to expect, but she came away just really loving it because every patient had like multiple conditions. They were very complex cases, and she loved the challenge of it. So she actually thought after this 2-week experience, she might go into that field. So yeah, so that's a great thing. Anyway, and then in the fall, year 2 is basically all hands-on physical therapy, applied physical therapy. Even your exams are likely going to be doing physical therapy, possibly on a physical therapist, so that they can see that you're doing it right. So it's a whole different flavor of the year compared to the first year. And since every DPT program is required by the American Physical Therapy Association to train students to be generalist PTs, there is no specialization. You learn a little bit about everything. So we offer in the second year typically optional electives that help you to go a little bit further into specialty fields. These are examples of areas we've had specialty electives that you could take. They're optional. You can take as few or as many as you like. They're all included in your tuition because you're paying full-time tuition. You could take as many as you like. So they just give you an opportunity to explore different areas of interest. So this actually is an area that I feel differentiates UIC from other programs because one field you can do is research in addition to your DPT program. So every DPT program requires you do the clinical side of things and the research side of things. So some people are not as interested in research as they are in the clinical, but you have to back up all of your clinical work with research and do evidence-based therapy. So, but there are people that really love the research side of things. And so we offer a certificate program, which is somewhere around 20 credit hours, where you can do deep dives into research and come out alongside your DPT with a research certificate, which when you're in a clinic, you can do clinical research. And our faculty is amazing at research. We have so many labs and yeah, we are really look at the top school in scholarly research for physical therapists. So if this is a field of interest for you, UIC is really the one. So that's that first clinical rehab and technology research certificate. And it can be also a stepping stone if you want to go into getting a PhD. But we offer other certificates that are optional. And of course, your DPT program is the main thing. That's what you need to be focused on. But if you want to differentiate yourself and dive into one of these other areas, they can really set you apart from other DPT graduates. So these certificates, like I said, are optional, and you could take as few classes or you could take the entire certificate, whatever you like. This Healthy Living Practitioner Certificate is one that our head of department has really driven. So he's very interested in something called health span, which if you don't know, so lifespan is how long a person lives. Health span is how long a person lives healthfully without being dependent or in pain. And it's usually less than your lifespan. So he partnered with the American Heart Association to develop this certificate, the Healthy Living Practitioner Certificate. And it's intended for health practitioners of all kinds, including PTs. But why it came about is people see their doctors once a year on average, but only a third of those people say that their doctor has helped them or advised them on nutrition or on movement, physical activity. And that's very dismal. But if you are a physical therapist or a health practitioner, you're likely seeing a patient more than once a year. And if someone comes to you with knee pain and they're having trouble walking and moving, you could be really focused on that knee pain and help them with their movement. Or with this certificate, you would be empowered to take a broader look at the patient and notice, oh my gosh, they're severely overweight, or they're a smoker, or they have a lot of stress, or they're not sleeping well. And through this certificate, you will have the skills to work with that patient to develop an healthy living intervention plan and work through it with them. So it's a very popular certificate, and one that our students are really enjoying. Then there's this LEND fellowship, and this is actually, you get paid for this, but only a couple, 2 to 3 PT students are selected to participate in the LEND fellowship. So this is for work with people with neurodevelopmental disabilities. And we work with 15 different disciplines. PT is only one of them. So psychology, public health, disability, nursing, I don't know, there's many different, 15 different disciplines that come together, and they look at best practices in the field. They do some clinical work, they do some outreach, they maybe will do some research. And like I said, so this is a great opportunity. This only is in your year 2, whereas the other certificates, you could start taking some classes in the first year and mix them in all around. And then the final certificate here is a mouthful, but it's really students that have taken this certificate have found that if you're saying the same thing over and over to every patient, you could take this certificate to figure out how to develop a blog or a platform that you could, a podcast maybe, give your message from yourself to many people. Other students that have taken this are interested in developing their own clinic, and so they've used this certificate to help create their system, so their web presence and all of that. So it's very customized to what you want to do, and yeah. Okay. Year 3 is primarily your three-month-long clinical education experiences. And I'll go into those in a bit, but there are also capstone courses that kind of go around those experiences. One of the courses is professional development, which you're getting every year, professional development. It's very important. And the professor is great. At the end of the course, he has students do sort of like a Shark Tank style presentation. And so some examples of what has come up in that course is a couple of students actually developed a tool for patients for balance. And so they presented that tool to the sharks. Some develop a business plan for a clinic that they want to open. Some students were working with firefighters, and they noticed they have to go climb under tables and go through windows. And so they created a video of how to go through things in the best possible posture and way for your body. So they presented that. So it's all different and just fun. And then you also, at the end, present a case study in an area that you've done some investigation in. And these are great because they not only help you with your clinical experiences, they also help you with your licensing exam in some cases. And actually, some of our students have done great case studies that they have created like a poster and actually presented at the combined sections meeting of the American Physical Therapy Association. So there's all kinds of possibilities with this. So those are the capstone courses. But the clinical education experiences, you have to have one that's an inpatient and one that's an adult outpatient. This is when they are. And this is where. So mostly they're in the United States. They're in the Midwest primarily. But we do have a site in Hawaii, and for your third and your final 3-month-long clinical experience, you do have the option to apply to go internationally. So that's quite cool. And this is the how. So UIC has long-standing relationships with over 400 clinical sites across the country. And believe me, you don't want to choose among 400 sites. You could just go into so much analysis paralysis, that would be horrible. But so what happens is we ask those sites, we tell them these are when our clinicals are, and this is the amount of experience our students have into each clinical. And they raise their hand and they say, okay, we can take 5 students. We can take 2 students. Oh, this year we can't take anybody. And then you get a much more realistic and smaller pool of clinical sites that you find out everything about them. We have feedback reports from students that have been to those sites. We have information about what kind of site they are, what type of patient they see, everything. And then you put together a wish list based on, you need to have 1 inpatient and 1 outpatient experience. So then you optimize your wish list, or you put together, say, 15 sites that you would like to go to. And depending on that pool of sites, we might say, well, you have to put on 2 or 3 that are really far away or out of state, so that we can place everybody. So then there's an algorithm that sort of like optimizes for everyone where they go. And there's no guarantees, but in the past, our students have experienced like 75% of them have gotten in their top 5. So like I said, there's no guarantees, and you have to be open and prepared to go wherever you're matched. And I talked about avoiding bias. That's if you've already worked at a site, a lot of hours observed at a site, we're going to want you to choose somewhere else. Or if you have a relative that is at a site. Yeah. Yeah, and the international opportunities are great. You have to actually qualify and demonstrate that you have done really well in your clinicals before you're allowed to go to an international site. One of our students, they provide a translator, but he was going internationally, and he wanted to have that interpersonal relationship with his patients. So he decided to put together a bunch of like flashcards to help communicate with his patient. You of course wouldn't need to do that, but it worked really well for him. And then some students ask me, do I get paid for the clinicals? And the answer is no. In fact, you get to pay for, sometimes there's other expenses beyond your tuition. These are educational experiences. So you may have to pay travel expenses. You might have to pay living expenses. Sometimes there are health and requirements, background checks that a site requires that is more stringent than what UIC requires. So you have to get that. So there are oftentimes other expenses involved. One of our students was out of state from New Jersey, I think, and she decided that for her 3rd year, she would not get an apartment in Chicago at all. She would just do Airbnb. She'd choose any clinical far away. Maybe she had relatives that she could stay with, and just Airbnb that year. So that worked well for her. Any questions on this? Okay, so I just asked our graduating class if they had any tips, and this is what, can you read that? I don't, I'm in the way here. It always pays off to step outside your comfort zone when thinking of clinicals. It allows you to really immerse yourself in it, whether you're away from home or in a completely different state across the country. So I also want to tell you from a clinical instructor perspective, people really want UIC students. And the reason is because they're so well prepared. So here's an example of 2 different clinical instructors that described why they wanted UIC students. So one instructor at a site was, he sees a lot of patients, and his patient population is an underprivileged, low income population. And they're not the, the athletes on the Mag Mile at a clinic. So he found that UIC students were so much better prepared from a psychosocial aspect to work with his patient population, and from a experience aspect. So our partner, UI Hospital, and our faculty practice are both seeing underprivileged populations. So you really get a firsthand look at these complex patient populations. And once you can can work with them, the other everyday kind of population is so much easier. Anyway, so he found that UIC students were just so much better prepared and able to connect and help his patients. So he wanted UIC students. The other clinical instructor, I'm going to try to mute whoever that is. Oh, back. Somebody did it. Great, thank you. The other clinical instructor, when she would take students from multiple programs and do her rounds with them. And what she found is that when a student came from a program that would teach neuro or ortho and then do a clinical, or then neuro and then do a clinical, that it was just frustrating for everyone involved. So since UIC students get all of the curriculum and then go on clinicals, they could see all of her patients, and that was great. But students from other programs that only saw ortho, they couldn't see many of her patients because very few patients have just one thing. they have multiple conditions. And so it was just frustrating because the student couldn't see all her patients, and yeah, it was just frustrating for everyone. Anyway, just a little perspective on that. Okay, so this is the application process. So it opens up in July and goes through October. This year is different, however, because we are for the first time doing rolling admissions. So we really encourage you to submit your application well before the October 1st deadline. I'm suggesting before September 1st at a minimum. But so the earlier you submit, the more we'll have an early look at your application. So anyway, you have to set an account with PTCAS, and all of your transcripts go there. If you've studied abroad, if you, whatever, all of your transcripts go there. If you're an international student, you have to send a WES evaluation of your transcripts to PTCAS. All of your letters of recommendation go there. So there's a minimum requirement of 2 letters of recommendation, but if you do more, and that can really help your case, to do more letters of recommendation, we will accept up to 5. But be careful with the letters of recommendation. So this is what I suggest, because we get a lot of form letters that could have anybody's name on them as a letter of recommendation. They don't really say a lot. So if they're unique, that's so much better, and they're specific to you. Also, make sure that when you ask somebody if they're going to write your recommendation, that they're going to write a positive recommendation. Because you don't get to see these letters, and you'd be surprised. Some people don't write positive letters. So make sure on that count. But this is what I would do. I would go to whoever it is, a professor or an employer or a PT, and say, I'm asking you if you'd write a positive letter of recommendation for me, because we shared this experience, and I learned so much from you and that experience. I learned these things. I hope you saw this, this, and this in me. And then you craft your maybe 3 strengths, and really any strength you have is going to be useful as a physical therapist, because you're working with people, you have to communicate, you have to do clinical reasoning. So every skill you have is going to be applicable. So if you do that for one person, and then you have a different set of 3 strengths for another person, this really can paint a great picture of you and who you are and what you bring to bear. So that's my recommendation with the letters. Some people even would appreciate if you wrote it and send it to them, because it's a time-consuming thing for someone. And then we have a standard essay question. I don't know what it'll be this year, but whatever it is, what we're looking for is that in a short, I think it's 150 words, you convey that you know what you're getting into, you speak the language of a PT, that you're passionate about the field, but not, you know, I'm so passionate because I was injured and I had a PT and it was great. But be specific. What was it that the PT did that put the light bulb on for you? Be specific, tell a story. I think that will be your best bet. UIC has an application that you also have to complete, but don't worry, like your transcripts are all going to PT CAS. Don't worry about what goes to that UIC application. It's really a formality and a must-have, but the PT CAS is where we're looking at everything. You have to take the GRE. We're still requiring that. UIC has many GRE codes, so be sure you're using the correct code for UIC. And that's really important. One thing about the GRE is we do take a super score. So if you take it multiple times, we take the best score from each section on your GRE. So that's a nice thing. But I get a lot of calls from students right before the deadline, October 1st, in the past, that, oh my gosh, I took my GRE, I didn't score as well as I like, and I want to retake it, which is fine. But the GRE people say I have to wait, I don't know, 25 or 30 days before I can even retake it. And that takes me past your deadline of October 1st. Well, that we won't accept the GRE that you take after October 1st. So if you think you might take it more than one time, take it early. Okay, observation hours. So we require a minimum of 40 observation hours. We do accept telehealth hours. In the past, most of our students have had well over 40. And we recognize that the pandemic has really hurt this. So there is a question in the PT CAS application process about how has COVID affected you professionally, academically, personally, whatever. And so you could put in there, if you weren't able to get in-person hours, that, you know, put that in there. One other thing I'd like to say is that what we really like to see is that your observation hours are coming from a variety, both inpatient and outpatient. We understand that inpatient is really, really hard to get, but if you can, great. Okay, and then we have a number of prerequisites. but somebody said they're still taking their physics. That's completely fine. You can apply if there are still 3 outstanding. You have to have them send transcripts of them before the program starts, before August 1st. So you have to have those transcripts. So you have to do them, but you can do them after you apply. And these are the prerequisites. And like I said, we have some COVID considerations. You can have online labs during the COVID periods. Yeah. Are there questions about the prerequisites? Yeah.
Does like how long ago the prerequisites were taken matter?
So it depends on what prerequisites, and so you particularly have been working as a tech, so you've kept the information current. Right. And for example, things like calculus and psychology, it's fine to have those older. And really anatomy and physiology, we're looking to have current and graded. Those are such core courses for determining how you're going to do in the DPT program. So we really like to see those current and graded. But like I said, if you're doing work that keeps the material fresh, then that's good, because and we accept any. We would ideally like to see the prerequisites within 5 years of applying, but we accept them however old they are. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. The prerequisites, if you're an international student, my experience has been your international undergrad bachelor degree did not cover these prerequisites, and you're going to very, very likely have to take a lot of classes. So that's been my experience. I don't know if it's true for you particularly, but if you have a WES analysis and you're not sure, send me a digital copy and we can go through it. Email me.
Okay.
Any questions on prereqs?
I mean, no, really. I've been taking prerequisites since in 2018. So like I've had like a bunch of classes. I'm taking science classes. So yeah, I mean, I have the ECE evaluation. Does that still?
Yeah, send me that and I can see.
Okay.
A lot of students have maybe not gotten the grades that they would have liked in some of these courses, so they retake the course. And unfortunately, for some, we average the takes and retakes. So when we calculate our prerequisite GPA, it's an average of those. We don't take the best score, just so you know.
Is that for all the prereqs? Okay.
Hey, so this is the secret sauce. So last year we had like 800 applicants, and I would say 150 or 200 of them did not 200, but a lot of them did not complete the application all the way. So it's really important when you submit your application to make sure you're following all of the PT-CAS information that they give you, and follow it all the way until you get to verified status. So verified status we only had like 700 and some applications in verified status. So be sure you get there. Yeah, and it's all different things. The transcript didn't come in or whatever. Seems like there's always some snafu. So be sure to stay on top of that. And when you submit your application, make sure it gets to verified status. Okay. Then we had 600 and some, 700 applicants. And we take that group of applicants and put them through a filter. And that's the 60% of the funnel here. And the filter doesn't look at your name, your experience. It only looks at your scores, your GRE, your GPAs, and that's it. So make it through that funnel. You need to have really strong scores. If your grades aren't so good, then nail the GRE. Yeah, there's a little bit of a balancing act you can do there. And I can't tell you like what's the minimum score because none of our accepted applicants are getting minimum scores. They're all getting A's and B pluses and, you know, a B here and there. So yeah, and the reason is our program is really rigorous. It's really challenging. And we want students who are going to succeed and not have to drop out. So yeah, that's why we do it this way. But so then we take that, I don't know, 700 applicants and it's much smaller after they've gone through this funnel. And then that group, we look at everything about them, all of like, do you speak another language? Do you do some volunteer work? What, you know, everything about you. What kind of school did you get your prereqs from? What's another thing in here? Have you taken a heavy course load with lots of science and still done really well? Because in the real world, a PT's life is very busy. They have to juggle a bunch of different balls in the air and still be able to manage. So that's the kind of thing we're looking for here. We will interview you. It's a video interview. Actually, it's our alumni who interview you. And yeah, so then we're looking at everything in a holistic way at this point. Any questions?
Yeah. Is the interview, is it a one-on-one interview or like a?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Hey, I'm not quite certain, but I believe so.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Oh, and then, you know, can I just ask a general question? Like, all the information that we're seeing on your screen, like, is that going to be available to us? Like, I mean, is there a way we can print it out or?
So this information is in the welcome packet. So, you know, where you want to get the Zoom link for this session.
Yeah.
There's a welcome packet you can download.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks.
And it goes through very specifically what is the academic prep, what factors are in there, what's the additional factors, what's in there. So, yeah. Okay. So good luck, make it through that funnel. We want to see you. Okay, so like I said, there are not really minimum scores, but this is what our experience is with prior applicants. And you can see it's quite a range because if someone got a 3.1, prereq GPA. They maybe got a really strong cumulative GPA, which included all their other courses over the last 60 hours. Or they maybe did really, really well on the GRE. So they all balance out. So that's why there's a range, but mostly, like I said, people are, and every application pool is different. So we don't know really what will be on the top of an application pool, but so this gives you a little bit of a sense. All right, so things you can do now before the application opens up. You can set up a dummy account on APTA PTCAS and just look at how it looks and how the information you're there. In that packet I mentioned, there's a spreadsheet that you can put together on your observation hours. And it's in the same format that PTCAS takes. So you have to put in the type of hours you saw, what's the license number of the PT, and they come in later and they say, oh yes, they observed here, they worked here. And of course, start cultivating those letters of recommendation. Okay, here's another tip from a student that just graduated. She says, never settle for the education and information that has been fed to you. Keep wanting to learn and grow and put in the extra work. It's always worth it. So I can talk about a student that we had before, and he was really interested in prosthetics, and that wasn't a part of the DPT program that we offered, but PTs, it's a small world. And so he talked to his professor, maybe his advisor, and asked about, how he could get this information about prosthetics. And they put him in touch with a prosthetics person, and he was able to, through his own initiative, go and observe, and he was able to see a person be fitted for a prosthetic and another person being trained on using their prosthetic. He said it was the coolest thing, and really it is just so easy to pursue an interest that you might have about that. And UIC especially, we're in the medical district. Everywhere you go, like 2 blocks this way is a clinic, 2 blocks that way is a hospital, 2 blocks that way is a veterans group. I mean, so many resources are available right here. And like I said, it's a small world and people know each other. So it's all good. Okay, so this is the tuition. Often quite a selling point for students, because it's an expensive investment in your future. And because we're a public university, we don't really offer scholarships, but our tuition is often cited as the best value around. So if you're an Illinois resident, that's great. If you're not an Illinois resident, you still pay non-resident throughout the whole 3 years. So that's just how it is. But we have a number of people outside of Illinois, and the program is still more valuable than their in-state program. So go figure. Okay, so now this is, you got into PT school, you graduated, you passed your licensing exam. Now what? Go off and be a PT, hooray, which most students do. But some students want to develop a specialty. And to develop a specialty, it can take you like 3 years to work as a PT, see all the patients in that specialty, get supervised, and take your specialty exam. So some students want to, they know they want to specialize, and so they want to do it right away. So UIC offers residency programs in 2 specialty areas. One is orthopedics and the other is sports. And we are the first and only sports residency program in Illinois. And even throughout the pandemic, we were able to get accredited in sports and continue our residency program in sports, unlike so many other programs during the pandemic. And of course, our orthopedics were able to continue too, but that's a longer standing program. So why do you care? I mean, you're trying to get into PT school isn't so far off. Well, I bring it up just because it speaks to the breadth and depth of UIC's program. So this residency program is operating at our faculty practice, which is part of our department. So this is where a group of PTs are seeing patients every day, or most days, but they're also professors in the DPT program. And so they're very close to the profession, they're seeing patients, and yeah, so there are very few DPT programs that have this alignment. And this is, the faculty practice is in addition to our partner University of Illinois hospital system, where they're also seeing PT patients every day. So yeah, I think it really talks about how great our program is, that we're offering a residency and you get those same professors in your DPT training. So there's a lot of reasons why people choose UIC. Yeah, I'll go through some of these, I guess, a little more detailed. Any questions so far? You're hanging in there. Great, thank you. Okay, I'm going to show you around a little bit, which I went and took pictures right when the pandemic started. So I've tried to update them, but there's a few here that could be more updated. Do you see that? Let's take a tour. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so like I said, we're in the medical district. We're not on the Magnet Mile. We're in kind of a really down-to-earth place on Taylor and Damon in Chicago. Our building, the Applied Health Science building, used to be a hospital at one time, but now it's our classrooms and labs. A lot of people you'll see on bikes. To get here, even our head of department, you would see him on a bike, sometimes a skateboard, and movement's a big part of our lives. So that's how people are getting here. Lots of places to hang out and study in the building and on campus. In the back, like I said, this was in March, but now this is flourishing. Our garden is amazing. It's managed by the nutrition folks in the Kines department, which is also in our building. And they win awards every year for their amazing garden. I had never seen an artichoke growing until I took this picture in our garden. So I thought it was very pretty. But yeah, so you can take a break out in the garden, and you can also take nutrition classes if you'd like. but they most likely won't fit in your schedule. If you take the Healthy Living Practitioner Certificate like I have, you will go out to the garden and have a class with the gardener and taste some of the things. That's very cool. So on the 4th floor is our physical therapy classroom. In normal times, it's set up for 60 students. And there's all the toys in every classroom, and it's not set up that way right now. But on the wall, you'll see this piece of artwork, because I talked about anatomy being a really difficult course. And our professors are so interested in making sure you learn the material and you get it ingrained deep inside you, that we offer a companion course to anatomy. It's called visual note-taking. So you don't need to be an artist or anything. It's just another vehicle to get all this detailed information into you. And it's taught by a professor in it's called Biomedical Visual Information Systems, BVIS, which is another department in this building. And the BVIS, they are training students medically, artistically, and technologically, so that they might develop an app, or they might develop a virtual reality surgery. I mean, that's the kind of skills that they have. So one of our students took this optional visual note-taking class and just got really inspired and donated some of her art to our program. So you'll see that on our walls. This is just one example. The heart of Chicago. Yeah, so this is what the classroom looks like now, with all the shields and masks and smaller groups of students, but they're still getting hands-on. These are first-year DPT students in their very first years, first months even of their program. And so this is an example of one of our labs in our department. It's great for breakout groups to practice some of the things you're learning. It's also a way for students, they just hang out and relax and unwind here, maybe, yeah. But so what happens when you get accepted? See what I did there? You get assigned a buddy that has been through the program. They're in their second year. You can ask them anything, and they've been there before you. So that's a nice thing to help you get acclimated. But we know as educators that if you tell somebody something, they learn it okay. If you tell somebody something and then they do it, they learn it so much better. If you tell them and then they do it and then they teach it, wow, they really learn it well. So in a lab like this, our second-year students would host a review session, because they know you have an exam coming up, and they will put you through the paces and ask you all the questions that could be on the exam, and help you prepare for the exam. So that's awesome, because it helps you as a first-year student. It also helps the second years to just remember all of that. So like I said, it's very collaborative. You will make lifelong relationships with people in your class, whether it's personal friendships or professional. They'll last your life. This is what you look like at the end of the program. Okay, not really. You may feel like this many times throughout the program, but yeah, it's so wonderful to witness students as they go through their different years of the program, because that first year, like I said, it's all the foundational sciences, and there's a certain, you know, stress around that. But then the second year, they're much more relaxed. But then when they have that exam where they're doing physical therapy on a physical therapist, they're also very, very anxious. But then in the third year, when they've had that 3-month-long clinical experience, oh my gosh, they look like professional PTs. It's just so wonderful to see the transformation. And they are not looking like skeletons. They're just super excited about the profession and getting started and going in the world. So it's just wonderful. But you may feel like this a little bit now and then. Okay, this is an example of some of the settings that you will be placed in for your clinical experiences. And I already showed you like where they might be. Yeah, so just to give you a feel for the different cohorts that we've had, the class of 2022 is unique in that there's an equal number of men and women in our class, which is so unusual. We've never had that before or since. With COVID, we had a lot of commuters, which was also unique. In the past, we've often had students room with other DPT students. And like I said, it's really nice when we have students who have had a prior career coming into the cohort. It really makes a nice blend in your class. So who knows what your class will look like, but gives you an example of some of the others. Okay, so beyond the academic portion of your program, you are required to do a portfolio project, and there's like 5 different areas of focus that you have to do some sort of self-initiated project and report on. You work with your advisor to make sure, what if I do this? Is that, and if you don't have ideas or access, then we have ones that you can do automatically. So I'm just going to speak to some of the ones that students have done in the past. Certainly not what you have to do. And the 5 areas align with what the American Physical Therapy Association requires of professional PTs. So one is social responsibility. So a number of our students go to a clinic not too far away, and they watch the children, patients that maybe they're disabled and their siblings, and then the caregivers, they get the night off. So it's fun for everyone. The students love this, and it's a great thing to if you like working with kids. The interprofessional collaboration at the bottom. This is actually is part of a class that we had where our students and a local college that's doing training for PT aides got together, and they did sort of a role model experience, like what if they put you in a moral dilemma, professional dilemma. What if the doctor does this? What do you do? What if the PT does this? What do you do? And so that was a great experience. Oh, there's a number of interprofessional collaborations available on campus. Yeah, I mentioned the Lent program as one of them, but so there's this. In the center is it was a fun basketball throwing contest with our dean, and the PT won that. And we totally want you to have fun. You're going to have fun, no question. It's just you have to plan your fun a bit more and be sure to plan it. Then in the area of leadership, our a group of our students were president, vice president, and secretary of the Illinois Physical Therapy Association, IPTA. And so that fulfilled their portfolio project. They did a lot of work for IPTA. If you're interested in things for prevention and wellness, there's a number of opportunities in that area. Warming up and doing PT there's a number of races in the city is a possibility. We also have the UIC Children's Health and Wellness Academy. So this is actually a course you take with a sort of a clinical component. So it's working with largely Latinx and population of elementary school kids. And it's kind of like an after school program where you do recipes and make nutritious snacks and do fun movement games with the kids. And then at the end of the semester, they put sort of like a science fair together for their family and friends. And they say, and they prepared it. This was my favorite snack, and this was my favorite movement activity. Let's do it. And they really become ambassadors of health and wellness in their families and in their communities. So it's a very fun thing, but it also fulfills your portfolio project. I'll talk about another opportunity of this later in the presentation. But these are all, self-directed. So for instance, that prosthetic person, he could have put something together on that. So this is an example of another area of leadership and research. So these students on the left here did for their case study, a literature review of all of the different articles on this McKenzie method. And they put together a poster of their work, and then they went to this combined sections meeting to present it. And what happened in the picture on the right is that this PT over here, she actually wrote one of the articles that they reviewed. And she came to see their work, and it was very exciting for them because they didn't know she'd be there or have a face for the article that they had reviewed. So it was just very exciting. So like I said, it's a small world, and it's just important work people are doing. Okay, so that's our building here at Applied Health Sciences. And the departments that are in our building are, alongside PT, are Kinesics and Nutrition, this BViz group, occupational therapy, and I think that's it. So, but we're gonna go across the street to the fitness center. So we are on the graduate campus, and there's about 10,000 graduate and professional students. So we have a fitness center here, but about a mile towards the lake, there is an undergrad college, and they have about 20-some thousand students, and they have a fitness center there too. It's just not as close. You can use that one. It's got a few more bells and whistles. But this one's just so close to get a workout in. Yeah, there's a pool there too. So anyway, just handy. And right next door is the Student Center on the West Campus, this graduate campus. There's a Student Center on the East Campus also. And then right in between the two is the student, is a residence hall. So if you want to have a single residence suite, some of our students, not many, but some live in the residence hall, residence suites, and roll out of bed and they're in class. But at the Student Center, you can get something to eat. Most of our students pack their lunch, but all kinds of options to eat there. Now we're going kitty corner across the street there to the College of Medicine, the West Tower. You can see divvy bikes available. We are on the 7th floor for our cadaver lab. We call it 7th Heaven. And we employ that technique with the labs, the learn to teach method. So a group of 3 students will work on, say, the prosection of the cadaver, and then they'll teach it to their partnering group of, say, 3 students, and they'll do the dissection and then teach it back. So you get a lot of time on the cadavers. The department the lab is run by the College of Medicine, but the cadavers are dedicated to the PT department. It's the largest cadaver lab in the country, and is one of the reasons why our anatomy professor is even with us, because we asked her, if you could have any lab of your dreams, what would that look like? And it looks like how she wants it. So she's here. So we're really glad about that. Also, in the past, because the College of Medicine runs this lab, you are afforded different opportunities that you might not otherwise have. So our students were able to participate optionally in workshops around organ harvesting for donating organs. Another one was about embalming, and one of our students was just over the moon because she was able to hold a person's heart, and that I mean, everybody's different, but for her, that was cool. So, yeah. You get 24-hour access to the labs so that you can study and prepare. It's closed on Christmas and it's closed on Halloween, but otherwise you get 24-hour access. Okay, now we're gonna go down the street a little bit to the library, but I get a lot of questions about the safety in Chicago, especially from people outside of Chicago. And UIC has all the different safe apps. I have to say, I live really close to campus. I can walk there. I'm not here at 2 in the morning, but I don't get the sense other people are either. It feels very safe. Of course, you're encouraged to be aware of your surroundings and, you know, walk in pairs at night. And we have I think it's called Red Car Service in case you're working late at night and you need to get to public transportation or to a nearby apartment. Yeah, our students will tell you they feel very safe. But now we're going to the library. I know some people are library people and other people are coffee shop people. But I wanted to bring your attention to the pink line. So part of your tuition includes all of the CTA buses and the L trains, the elevated trains, so that you can get around in the city. And the pink line's really close to our department and building. Inside the library, we have a lot of great resources. The library staff is amazing. They're very, very helpful. What happens typically is once you're accepted, here we go again, one of the students in your class will set up a Facebook group, and in that Facebook group you can, I'm new to the area, what's a good neighborhood to live in, or I need a roommate, anybody interested? And you kind of get settled there and get to know each other a little bit before classes start. But that Facebook group often keeps going throughout your time in the DPT program, and students will say, I'm over in the library preparing for our exam. Anybody want to join me? And the whole class is over there. But yeah. Now we're going to the College of Medicine on the East Tower. And this is where, I just love the old building, but we're up on the 6th floor. So a lot of steps. This is where another classroom is. This is a 60-person classroom. So maybe year 1 students will be in here, and then year 2 students will be in the other building in that classroom, or vice versa. And then year 3, they're out doing their clinical exams, or experiences. So all of our classrooms have the tools and toys that you need for learning. You might, if you're having one of your practical exams, you might be in this classroom with your professor and the patient, while everybody else is next door in the lab preparing and waiting their turn. Yeah, so the lab is well equipped. It has 30 beds for 60 students, and you are encouraged to team up with different genders and different body sizes so that you get a lot of different experiences. That's been tricky with COVID. We have had to have set partner groups, but so we're working on trying to mix that up a lot more going forward. And you can see all the tools there. So I often bring students on a physical tour into this lab, and the students are on break or they've just finished class, and we get to ask all kinds of questions like how many schools did you apply to, and what was the secret to getting in, and yeah. So I was there one day with a group of people, and we were talking to a couple of students, and over in the corner, the professor was working with independently a student and showing her something, and I don't know, but they were engaged the whole time we were talking with these other students and asking about like where was their clinical and all this stuff. And at the end, he came up to me later in the day, and he said, I'm so sorry I couldn't talk to your group. I really had to go. I was pressed for time. And I was like, you didn't need to say anything. You were working one-on-one with a student after class for probably 15, 20 minutes. I felt like that just said it all. Let me tell you some of the answers the students gave. So what do you love most about the program? And it was each other and professors, pretty much are the main answers. Why did you choose UIC? A lot of it was tuition. How many schools did you apply to? Some 5, somebody like 12. Don't do that. 12. Another person 1. So all different. What do you suggest to differentiate yourself? And A lot of them said to have observation hours that are very, very different. What kind of would tell me about your clinical? Well, one girl was saying how her clinical placement, she loved so much, she would go even when she wasn't on duty to go. That's because she was doing PT for the cast and crew of Hamilton. So how cool. I mean, that was so cool. She was surprised that the crew needed a lot of PT, but of course they did. Yeah. Another person talked about their clinical experience being, for their just 2-week clinical, that they really liked their clinical instructor, their CI. And the CI asked her about whether she was taking that healthy living practitioner certificate, because it was really appealing to the CI and she wanted to know about it. And the student hadn't been taking it, but after that clinical experience, she decided she'd try to get as many courses as she could while they were free before she graduated, because like that clinic paid for those courses. So she did that. Yeah. I ask questions that you would ask a student, and I'll tell you what their answers were.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a question about the shadowing hours. So yeah, like I said, I've been working at an athletic outpatient clinic for like 3 years. So much experience. I mean, it's just so much experience, you know. But yeah, that's one thing I'm concerned with my application. Is just it's COVID is making it really hard to like get a variety of shadowing, especially like inpatient. So
I know.
How would that
put it in that question, the COVID question? Put it in there that you really wanted to, but you weren't able to.
Okay.
And your application will show a lot of observation experience, so it'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah.
To follow up on that, it was kind of like the same thing because of how small the clinic is. There's only like 3 therapists, so they're all like the same. So like my hours kind of show, you know, like same thing. Like even when you try to transfer a lot of them, you can't really get a variety of different. So like that would obviously go in the what COVID kind of prevents it section.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's fine. Don't stress about it. It's fine. We recognize it's a very challenging time. You got what you got, and that's great.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Another question. Like concerning the optional certifications. Like, do you have to renew those every year, or when it's a one and done deal? Like once you get them, you get them. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks. And like with the letters of recommendation, like I know UIC accepts up to 5, you said, but are there like any I guess you could say frowned upon types of letter of recommendation, like from, I mean, obviously from employers and past professors and stuff are acceptable, but
Absolutely.
What are like unacceptable ones?
Family, friends.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So one of them has to be a PT, and then another, you know, someone who knows your work and your characteristics, that can speak to your strengths. But yeah, often a professor, an employer.
All right, thank you.
Maybe a lab person.
Okay. All right. Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Quick question.
ahead.
Okay, so I don't know if you said this before, but if you did, I'm so sorry. I'm asking again. Is there going to be financial aid for the program or no?
You apply for FAFSA, the financial aid loan program. We really don't offer scholarships for the most part. Once you're in the program, you can apply for a couple of scholarships. They range from $200 to $1,000, and those scholarships are based on merit and need. So they're nice. And like I said, that Lend Fellowship is also a small stipend.
Okay. One more thing. This is the only campus of PT, right? There's no other campus outside Chicago, but within Illinois.
For UIC, it is. Yeah.
Oh, this is the only campus. Okay. I just wanted to confirm. All right. Thank you for.
I mean, there's other schools that offer PT programs, but UIC, this is the only campus.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Somebody else gonna go.
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask about the diversity within the acceptance in the program. Like, is the acceptance pretty diverse, or what have you noticed, if you've noticed anything?
Well, diversity is a key topic for us as a department, especially in this past year has really shaken things up. Yeah. So our population reflects the current PT population, which is not very diverse. But we have some diversity, and it's great. But we'd like to have more. And so we have instituted a couple of sort of like pipeline programs where we're working with schools at both the elementary level and the high school level to expose them to health professions that require professional degrees, for example, and sort of build a relationship and build them along so that if they're interested in one of these fields, they can get into our pipeline, and we'll coach them along the way and help them to get on track to applying to our program and getting it. Because frankly, they don't even know these fields exist, a lot of them. So yeah, we're trying to get to them younger and expose them to possible career choices.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go from the library. I don't know where we're going next. Oh, down towards the hospital. So you can see this bridge here. So the hospital is a partner for us. So a lot of our part-time clinical experiences will happen at the hospital, some at the faculty practice. And some of our clinical experiences will be actually at the hospital as well. And so as I'm giving tours, this doesn't happen often, but I'll see a student helping a patient with mobility across these bridges. And I'll be like, hi. But if that's you, don't wave to me. You gotta pay attention to your patient, but it's always very exciting to see to see that. Anyway, this is where the hospital is. Like I said, this is from last March, and it used to be this great area where you could throw a frisbee around, but now it's being built up into a outpatient facility. So that doesn't look like that anymore, but this is where a lot of our students live. So just to give you an idea of some of the neighborhoods that they're in, Tri-Taylor, this is Taylor Street right here. So Tri-Taylor is walking distance, really convenient. Wicker Park is a farther of a commute, maybe a little more expensive, but it's a lot more appealing to young people as a place to live. And then Pilsen is nearby also. Forbes called it like one of the best neighborhoods you can live in. And rents have been pretty great there, except for after that article. But that's also within walking distance and a good value as a place to stay, just as examples of neighborhoods people are living at. And I mentioned the student residency or student residence option. Oh, as far as rents, so it all depends on like how close you are to public transportation, how many roommates you have. It's so many variables, and it's a huge range what your rent might be. So somebody with a lot of roommates, they might be lucky to pay $500 a month. If it's just you, and I think our single suite residences, you might be like $1,400 a month. So all different. Okay, now we're gonna head to the faculty practice. It's hard to tell from the signage that it's the faculty practice. We tried to put a lot of signs when you're inside that yes, this is the faculty practice. So a lot of things happen here. I talked about the residency program happens here. You can set up a time as a student, like say you've just gone through a bunch of ortho stuff and you want to see it in action. You can arrange a time to go and observe at the faculty practice some ortho thing and spend a little time there. And they will try to give you hands-on as much as it makes sense, but mostly they'll set up observing times. So it's an extension of our DPT program. It's they're seeing patients, so it's a clinic. They're also doing research there. So they asked many of their patients if they will participate in research studies. So that's great. And I mentioned that the population, aside from the sports physical therapy, we're seeing a lot of UIC athletes at the faculty practice. There's a number, it's a largely underserved population, a lot of African-American, a lot of Latinx population, and multiple conditions. So very, very many different conditions. This may also be a clinical site for your clinical experiences. So that can happen here. And then we also are doing cardiac rehabilitation in this faculty practice. So let's go inside. Anybody? No. It is an anti-gravity treadmill. So I guess if you have knee problems or something, you knew that, didn't you, Kennedy?
Yeah, I was gonna say it. They have it on Athletico.
Yeah. So I haven't tried it myself, but it looks really cool, and I think it's helpful for if you have knee problems to be able to still get a good work on it. Anyway, the faculty practice, we have cool equipment. And all the beds and all the equipment that you see here. But I did mention we also are doing cardiac rehab. So across the country, if you have a cardiac event and have, say, heart surgery, and your cardiologist recommends cardiac rehabilitation, what percentage of that population do you think participate in cardiac rehab? No idea. Well,
a small amount.
A very small amount. The national average is 10%. I can't get my head around it. Like, anyway, at our faculty practice, we are incorporating not only cardiac rehabilitation movement, but we are seeing a dietitian. We have them see a dietitian, an exercise physiologist. We are experiencing 70% participation. So super cool. We've done a lot of articles about our work here because there's so many interprofessional aspects to it. We think also a reason that we get such high participation is because it's in the same location as their cardiologist. So it's a familiar location. They see patients who are in their same situation, getting better and doing the stuff. And so maybe that's why they're more inclined to do it. So very, very exciting that we're getting so much participation. And I talked about the portfolio projects that you need to do. There are some volunteer opportunities that can help fulfill your portfolio project as well in the cardiac rehab group. So the official rehab is, I think, I can't remember now if it's 3 or 4 phases of rehab that a patient goes through. And then we offer, it's sort of like a gym membership if they are in their maintenance phase and they want to continue doing these things. They can pay a very nominal amount to have basically gym exercise and the cardiac rehab facility. And the volunteer opportunity for DPT students is to oversee that maintenance exercise. So, and then I believe that fulfills your portfolio work, and one aspect of your portfolio. So there's also another thing that happens at the faculty practice, and it also is in our department. So there are a couple of employment opportunities. Like I said, they're 5 to 15 hours a week. But there are not many, and a lot of people want these jobs. So there's a couple of jobs at the faculty practice, and students might do like enter research data. They might manage ordering supplies, or I don't know, just different administrative things, making sure the equipment's in good shape. I don't know. So there's a couple of positions available at the faculty practice, and there's a couple in the department, and they help with events and making sure classrooms are ready for professors. Equipment is available and ready. Stuff like that. Anyway, they really like, the students that get those jobs really like them because we're so flexible, and we know you have an exam coming up and you can not work so much this week and work more next week. So yeah. Okay, so that's the faculty practice, and then we'll head back. So stop share. So I want to tell you a few stories about some of our students. And yeah. So one of our students was a auto mechanic. And he was doing all sorts of contortions under the car and wrecked his health. And he decided, so then he got PT and got so much better, lost a bunch of weight, and decided he was going to be a PT. So this auto mechanic got all his prereqs, got into DPT school. On his way to getting those prereqs, he became a physical trainer. Went to PT school and graduated, and now he's a body mechanic. So I think that's a great story. Another of our students, he was in a business profession, and he liked it okay, but he really wanted to travel, and he loved the human body and what it can do. So he applied to DPT school, and I think he's in his clinical experiences right now. He's in his 3rd year, and his goal is, when he graduates, is that he won't take a job at a single place as a PT, but he will travel and be a traveling PT in any of the places he wants to go. So super fun, interesting way of looking at the profession. Another of our students was going on her very first full-time clinical experience. And she felt pretty ready, but she was nervous. And so she went to her patient, asked the patient to stand up so that she could do her evaluation. And when the patient stood up, she immediately fell down and had blown out her Achilles. So, so that was like an emergency thing, and all the medical staff came and took care of the patient. But our student was like, "What did I do?" Which she, of course, didn't do anything. But what she did do was learn a lot about the Achilles, and she incorporated that into her case study, and so that her classmates learned a lot about the Achilles as well. Another student, I think he was in his 2nd clinical experience, the major 3-month-long one. And he was in a hospital. He was told to go to this patient. They need PT on their back, soft tissue damage. So our PT, our student PT in his 3rd year, goes to this patient and examines the patient and realizes, oh my gosh, we need to get an emergency MRI. This is not soft tissue damage. This is a major problem. So thankfully, the medical staff listened to our student PT, got the patient into an MRI, had life-saving surgery. I mean, I think we're preparing our students pretty well. I can't think of any other stories right off, but if you have questions, please ask, and be sure to email me if you need specific help.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So you gave some excellent examples of students who maybe have started in one career and switched over to PT, and you gave us the sort of demographics of, looked like in the last years, maybe 10 to 18% of the student body had a previous career. That would be my scenario. Do you have any examples of, or are there any particular challenges maybe that an older student or a student coming from a different career instead of coming straight from college might face, or that you've noticed them encountering?
Yeah, great question. So one of our more non-traditional students got pregnant during her her experience. And so there had to be a lot of shifts in how she could do her full-time clinicals. And so her classmates, her class decided that they would give up their, you know, really local spots for this, for their colleagues, so that she could have an experience and still be a new mother. So that was an example for sure. Some examples are that people coming from a non-traditional background have gotten their prereqs like one at a time while they're working, and have had a very difficult adjustment coming into a full-time program, multiple classes at a time, and managing the whole study bit and balancing life. So that has been a challenge for some students. But in the majority of cases, I would say that the students that have had previous work experiences or life experiences are coming into the program with a more balanced outlook, I guess, and a bit more maturity, and tend to be leaders in the class because they aren't as easily frantic about an upcoming exam, or, you know, they're able to put things in perspective of the bumps that are encountered. So they tend to be more leaders in the class, and yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, that's great. Email me if you have any questions at all. I'm at mhrose@uic.edu. And thank you for agreeing to record this.
Thank you.